Welcome everyone to today's webinar. And my name is Carol. I'll be one of your hosts today. And I know that it's kind of like summer starting, and if you here, meaning that you spend time with us, so that's really appreciated. And hopefully the topic today will be informative and useful for you within your own context. So the topic today is on the EU AI Act, and especially on ISO 42001. And we will talk about how to navigate AI risk and governance. So I'd like to introduce our speaker today, a very special person. So Ms. Thora Markert. She's been working with Truth North based in Germany, and she is a global product manager AI within the business entity. And Thora has over 6 years of experience specializing in AI governance, AI management system. And one of the things will be covered today is the AI management system, AIMS, similar to the ISO 27001 ISMS. So with a background in computer science and IT security, she's been supporting organizations in AI governance and how to navigate in this complex area. So over to you, Thora, so that you can share some valuable insight in this area.
Thank you so much, Carol. Yeah, and it's very nice to meet you all. Some half of the people, they also are not that familiar with AI. We have to address both. So I hope I don't bore the other half as much. But basically, what is AI? So AI is really used, I think we all have heard of AI. I'm pretty sure you have heard of AI. It's very hyped at the moment. But what is mostly hyped at the moment is down there, Gen AI. So Gen AI systems for video and text generation in general. Like you've also answered, a lot of you have used chatbots, but AI is much, much more. It's a much vaster technology. So it's a huge area, actually, with very different complex technologies within this. And this is actually something that a lot of people are not that familiar with. AI is something we are using in our daily lives already. So one of the biggest fields where AI is already used is the field of medical AI. So in medical AI, AI is often used to do lesion detections or melanoma detection. So if you have birthmarks, this is where AI excels, because AI is very good at detecting some patterns. And if you have some medical data, obviously it's very similar. Our bodies all look the same. And then you can apply it. And if there's a disruption, like a lesion, so a tumor, it's very easy to detect for AI systems. Then, where most of you have used AI yourself, if you own a car, or you have ever if you ever sat in a car, which I'm pretty sure you have. Actually, all of these assisted driving and autonomous driving systems, they are actually AI driven. And already, since for a really long time, all of these are AI driven. So like, for example, we see here, it's like a perception system in the car that can detect other vehicles, but also can be used for lane detection as well. So this is also AI driven, and obviously very different to generating new content and also just checking something on very similar data, because here we have an infinite amount of input space, and this is classified basically. Then in manufacturing, for quality control, but also for these industrial robots, for the control of them, or anything else, AI is used a lot. In aerospace, like routing and autopilot, some functionalities of the autopilot are also AI driven. And then in IT security, which is maybe a field where you're also familiar with if you're sitting here and are interested in cybersecurity and AI, it's about either detecting AI or preventing attacks using AI, because AI, again, is working on patterns, so it's good to detect some disruption of patterns if someone is trying to enter your system. But it can also be used on the other side, on the bad side, basically, to enhance attacks using AI. And to get more insight into this and a little bit more practical knowledge, I'm going to have an example for you where we're going to see how does AI actually learn. And for this, I'm bringing a very easy example. So keep in mind, this is the AI model. So I hope you can see my cursor. So this construct of bubbles connected, so points connected with lines. This is called an artificial neural network. And for the sake of this demonstration, because I have limited space on my slides, I made it much smaller than it actually would be in real life. So we only have 3 layers, and layers are those vertical lines of those dots, which are actually called artificial neurons. So they are made, each dot is basically a function that is made to mimic the biological neuron in your brain. And they are connected through some lines, and those lines are basically passing it through the different layers, so the vertical lines of neurons. And here we have a very easy model. We want to train our model to be able to detect between cats, dogs, and birds. And we want this based on the training data. As you can see, the training data is image-based, and this particular our data we are looking at right now is just this image of a orange cat. And what AI systems actually do is they pass this image through their different layers of neurons, and each of this neuron kind of learns a pattern that is going to make up a cat. So it kind of learns itself what a cat looks like, basically. But what we can see from these images down here, these are basically the patterns the AI system will extracted, and it's going to base its future decisions on. And what we can see here, so for the first one, we can maybe still see a cat, but for the second layer, we can already see, oh, it's only just pixels. For us humans, it only looks like random pixels. This is also a huge issue, because now you can imagine if it's much deeper, the patterns, they get even more complex. And to us humans, they only look like weird patterns. So we don't really know what the AI system is basing its decisions on, but as long as it works. But here we see, so the first training pass, it actually didn't work. The AI system said it's a bird, but it's clearly a cat, so it's incorrect. So what we do during the training phase is actually that we have to do this over and over again. So the AI system learns by optimizing towards the correct label. So we gave the AI system the correct label with it, so that this image is supposed to be of a cat, and then it optimizes basically back to the correct label. So this is done over and over and over and over again, basically, until the AI system finally has extracted the correct and learned the correct patterns. And now it works, and it says, well, this image is of a cat. And now we have the next pole, which is basically, so we have trained our model using this image, only this particular image of this cat. And the AI system, after training, is sure that for 99.9% that this image is of a cat. So now we have this other cat. So it's an unseen image. The AI system has not been trained on this, and we present it to the system. Do you think, and answer this please in the poll, do you think the system will be, this cat will be correctly classified as a cat, won't be classified as a cat, or do you not know? So I'm very excited about what you will say, what the AI system will say. So I see a lot of you have answered yes, which would be something we would expect as humans. Some of you have said no, and I think only one person said, I don't know. And actually, it's kind of a mean question, because we don't know. Technically, we won't know. But in general, we are more leaning towards no. Because we've only had this image of a cat. So what the AI system learned, and is 99.9% sure, is that it can detect this particular orange cat. However, this cat is very different looking. It has a different background to this image. The cat has different colors. It's a little bit different shaped because it has longer fur. So the thing is, we actually don't know. And this is another huge issue with AI systems. Because obviously, the system now can detect this cat. But to be able to detect all different cats in the world, what we would need is a huge data set. And in a utopian world, we would need a data set depicting all different cats. This means all different fur lengths, all different colors, all different positions the cats are sitting in, if we want to present it also with cats in a different position, not only those face-based images. And we would have to train it over and over again on this huge data set representing basically all different cats in the world. So you can imagine how big this is going to be. And now we run into an issue, because we also want to detect birds and dogs. So obviously for the dogs, we need an equally representative huge data set with all the different dogs in the world. And then also with all the different birds in the world. So what we end up with is, for this very small idea of a model that we want to create, we now all of a sudden need a huge amount of data to be able to make the model train all of the different patterns that make up all different birds, and the patterns that make up different dogs, and the patterns that make up different cats, basically. And now we imagine we have trained our model, and our model with this perfect data set of all different cats in the world. And we have a test accuracy on a very representative data set of all different cats in the world. And our model says it has a 99.9% accuracy on detecting different cats. So there will be a new poll now. So what do you think now? Will this image of this cat, which was not part of the training data, be correctly classified as cat, not as a cat, or do you not know? So I'm really interested in hearing what you assume now about this use case of our cats. So it changed a little bit more. So now people are saying 43% are saying yes, 29%, so 30% are saying no, and 30% are also saying I don't know. And the really annoying thing about AI is we still don't know. So this was, again, a really mean question of mine to you, but this is really to enhance the issue with AI. So the issue with AI is we don't know. AI systems, they are non-deterministic, and they are non-linear. So we can't give any guarantees of these. Then additionally, we have seen that AI systems, they extract these patterns, and we can't really tell these patterns. So we don't actually know what is happening in them. So they are kind of like black boxes. And then, especially for this cat use case, we don't know, maybe this particular cat looks very different, or maybe all of the cats in the data set, they had a little bit of a different background. Now this has a great beige background, maybe it wasn't really represented in the data set. So maybe the model doesn't correctly classify. So we actually don't know. And this is the huge annoying thing about AI, is that we can't give guarantees. And it's horrific, if you can imagine, when it comes to security, safety, because we can't give any guarantees. We can always estimate, but we can't really say that it works correctly. So we already saw now 50% of you are saying, what about the reliability of these AI systems? And now we go to another thing that's really annoying about AI systems, is that even if you have very slight changes, you have a huge impact on the outcome of the AI system. So on this side, now we see our cat again here. And below this is what the AI system thought. So here the AI system thought, okay, this is a cat, and I'm 95% sure that this is a cat. Here we have our perturbation. And so this is called a perturbation or some noise. And what you can see is just random pixels, basically. If we paste these random pixels onto our cat image and present it to the AI system, again, the AI system now says, well, I'm 97% sure this is a banana. And for us humans, we still look at this image and be like, it's a cat with some pixel errors on top of it. And this is due to the fact that AI systems, as we saw, they react to some patterns. And these patterns, obviously, they can be very easily disrupted. And this could be done with such noise or perturbations when you change some pixels. So even though we as humans, we still say, oh, it's clearly a cat, the AI system doesn't see the whole image as a cat. It just sees some patterns within it. And this could disrupt it. And this is actually called an adversarial example, because you can even calculate these as an attacker to actually present the label you want exactly here. So now we always had this cat image, which is really easy to see for visualization sake. But now we can also imagine, what about if we are in the real world and we have a real use case that is safety relevant, like for example, as traffic sign detection, like a stop sign detection for autonomous driving vehicles. If we don't, unfortunately, live in a utopian world where everything is perfect. Unfortunately, a lot of times, especially in Germany, so I'm from Germany, I don't know where you guys live, but a lot of times there are some stickers or some graffitis on stop signs, and these placement of these stickers and graffitis or dirt, and like in the other image depicted, dirt or maybe some rust, or maybe there's a little bit of a tree hanging into the stop sign. This could also have the same effect, that this image of the stop sign won't be correctly classified. And this could have fatal outcome, obviously, if a stop sign is not correctly classified by an autonomous driving vehicle. So we always had this fun examples, but obviously it can be much worse. And what makes it even worse, even the placement of these stickers, this can also be calculated. So this can even be a malicious attack, but it can also occur naturally due to the environment that we live in. So AI really struggles with novel and unusual situations. And it really depends on the quality of the input. So if the quality has some noise on it, it's really hard for AI systems to sometimes work with that. And when it comes to privacy concerns, which a lot of you also had, it gets even worse, because if you have access to a model, you can actually reconstruct the training data. So on this side, we have a new orange cat, and on the other side, we see the reconstruction. So this is actually a reconstruction done over time with different iterations on the model, and you can even reconstruct training data. So if you have personal data within your training data, it is technically, attackers would be able to reconstruct them. So using AI might not always be the most reliable option, the most privacy preserving option, and maybe not always the most safe. So what this makes it very obvious is that governance is actually needed for this technology, because there are a lot of risks that are maybe not as related to regular software systems, and we need to somehow manage how we deal with them. Then, additionally, when it comes to accountability, obviously you probably already have thought about this at some point. If you have an autonomous driving car, who is liable for an accident? Is it the driver, so the AI user? Is it the AI provider that sold the system? Or is it the producer of the system? Because often these are different. So the one that develops the AI system is different than the one that sells you the AI system. So who's actually liable if an accident occurs? And this gets even worse, because we know AI is kind of like a black box. So if an accident occurs, who was at fault? Was it the AI system that made the wrong decision, or was it the AI user that actually made the wrong decision? So having a clear responsibility allocation and clear view on who is dealing with the AI system and who's accountable for which action is vital for these types of systems, especially if they run automatically. Then we have an overview about the AI market, which makes it even worse. So it's very good because AI is also increasing efficiency. However, we see that from 2025, 55% of organizations were using some type of AI within their business operations. And now we saw, and this data was taken from early 2026. So now we are mid-2026, and 2026 is still not over. 72% of organizations are using AI in some business operations. So we can see there's a huge increase, and it will be even bigger by the end of 2026. So we have this very unreliable technology. It has a lot of risks, and a lot of people are using it, which is obviously creating a huge demand for more trust and compliance. Because if a lot of people are using this technology, and if a lot of incidents occur, this is bad for everyone because the trust in the technologies changes. And this is also something that we can see, is that actually for a lot of AI systems, we saw there's an increase in use of the systems, and obviously with that also comes an increase in incidents and hazards when it comes to use of AI. So this data is taken from the OECD. They have like an AI incident and hazards monitor, and this was taken from September until September 2025, from January 2022. And we can see that there are more incidents, and the more incidents occur, the less trust people have in this technology as well. And obviously, this is also bad for organizations, because some incidents, they might have reputational harm to your company, but also they are going to disrupt how your business is working. So it's very important to get into consideration what AI is great for doing automation and has great capabilities, but it's also important to see, okay, AI use actually can also be bad for companies. And so since this is very well known that AI systems are kind of unreliable at times, they also have some other issues like fairness and so on. People have thought about, okay, how about we build trustworthy AI? And you may have heard also in this about trustworthy AI. And what trustworthy AI is, it basically takes all of the things where AI lacks a little bit and looks at it and tries to enhance it. So first of all, we look at data quality. Since we heard already, AI takes some extract some patterns from our data, and we saw when our data set was really small of just one image, it can't detect all cats. So what we need is a very representative, huge data set that also hopefully has no errors in it, because if there's an error in it, obviously AI system will just learn this error with it. And so we wanted to have good quality because AI is data driven. Then accountability, we have to make sure, okay, if an incident occurs, what do we log? How do we make sure what happened? How do we trace what happened, and so on, and who is liable for that? And then we also need transparency. So if someone is interacting with our AI system, we want also to have they know, okay, there could be some areas where our AI system doesn't work properly, for example, in different environments. It could be for a perception system in a car. If you train a perception system in a car from data from Southern California in America, it will be very different if you use it in Germany or in Sweden when it snows, because it has never seen data what the world looks like when it snows. So it could be unreliable results in this environment, basically. So communicating this limitations of the AI system is very important also for users of the system. Then human oversight. So obviously the best thing is always to never have an AI system that takes important decisions on its own. It's always best to have an AI system that is more like has a human oversight that still checks the data, what's happening. So human oversight is very important. Then fairness. So we now have trained at the start our system with orange cats. One orange cat. If we only train our system with only orange cats, our AI system only knows that a cat is orange. So this can be translated to humans as well. So if we have a data set that, for example, does job screening applications, and there's only male people working at my company, and I take this historical data and train my model on it, then women will be discriminated against. So fairness is also very important, because AI just kind of thinks it learns the patterns it learned. And if it's biased patterns, this also has a huge impact. And then also security. We saw AI is very easy to attack with some noise or some pixel changes. So security is very, very key as well. And now going into the regulatory landscape, and this is something that is not only a European problem, it's actually everywhere in the world. We can see for AI systems that actually everywhere in the world there's some sort of AI regulation. So we have something in the US, but we also have something in China, we have something in Singapore, and obviously in the EU we have the EU AI Act. So we see every different areas actually, and this is a kind of something novel, where every single country basically has its own AI regulation, which is very interesting. And so giving a little bit more insight into the EU AI, because now we saw, okay, AI actually has a lot of flaws. So the EU actually thought so themselves, which is why they wanted to create this EU AI Act. And with that, it has created 4 risk levels, so ranging from minimal risk, limited risk to high risk. So limited risk is something like video games. AI in video games has no risk to any human, so there's nothing to regulate there, doesn't really matter. Then like chatbots, systems that have some moderate risk, it could have some fairness things or some very moderate risk that doesn't have any people at harm, basically, then you just have to have some transparency obligations where you say, okay, you are communicating with an AI system. It has this and this limitations, basically, so that users know. And then for high-risk systems, which is the most important, which is the one that is actually regulated, and then there are requirements for this, is any systems that have high impact on health, safety, or fundamental rights. And then we have forbidden AI systems, which is something that poses a clear threat to safety, livelihoods, or fundamental rights of people, based on the fundamental rights of the EU. And these are systems like biometric identification in public spaces in the EU, because it's obviously not allowed in the EU, or something that is clearly designed to manipulate people. And we have two different high-risk systems, which is the upper part is systems that were not previously regulated in already existing EU laws, which is like HR application, financial applications, migration law, biometrics, or critical infrastructure. And then we have the other side, which is systems that are already regulated under existing EU laws, like radio equipment, medical devices, agricultural devices, and so on, civil aviation, and so on. And there are different timelines for this. For the first part, it's December 27, and for the second part, so the already regulated areas, it's August 2028. And what these requirements actually focus on is, well, surprise, it's also trustworthy AI. So it's the same principles that we already discussed, actually. So now going over what is actually 42001. So what is AI management system? So it's the first management system standard that was globally introduced for AI systems. And it's very similar to 27001. So if you're familiar with that, it's very similar. It's also a management system. And it also focuses on the same principles. So also, again, trustworthy AI. And since it's very similar to other management systems, then it also integrates very well with them. We will see in a second. And who does it address? Actually, the same things we already discussed. So the AI users, AI providers, and AI producers. So even if you are an organization and you only use ChatGPT, it's also for you, because you can also use this AI management system to manage and make sure that people are working properly while using those AI systems within the company as well. And then going over the different chapters, this is also where you will see the similarity to 27001. It's the same chapters. So it's completely the same chapters. So this is also why it's good to integrate with other management system standards, even 9001 and so on. So everything that's based on ISO 17021 has the same structure, so it's good to integrate. But where does the difference lies? The difference lies actually in the controls. So the controls of the ISO 42001, they are very different to the controls of the 27001. The 27001, obviously, they focuses on information security, and ISO 42001 focuses on AI. So what you will see here is that most of these controls, they focus on something like data, how to use the AI system properly, how is the AI system developed, and so on, so that every of these concerns and risks when it comes to AI is also properly addressed. And now the biggest question you maybe have, also judging from your answers to the poll, is what to do now. And what to do now is, well, first of all, establishing some form of trustworthy AI for the use or even the development of AI systems. So first of all, always be aware of the risks and limitations of AI. I think a lot of people are mistaking, because it's called intelligent, that AI systems are actually not that intelligent. They actually just reproduce some patterns they learned. And if the patterns are not that great, they can only produce what the patterns are, basically. And they can't think outside of the box. So our system that we had previously that can detect dogs, birds, and cats, if you put an image of me inside there, it doesn't know how to say human. It doesn't know how to say, I don't know what this is. It will classify me as a cat or a bird. So it can only think inside its very little box it learned, basically. What to do is, first of all, establish an AI inventory. What I always often see actually with companies is they don't even know where everyone uses AI. You also answered that at the start. Kind of some singular employees are using AI systems informally. That's actually the worst nightmare for AI risk management and AI governance. So establishing like an AI inventory, who uses what, which AI tools do we actually use, or even which AI tools do we develop ourselves. Then obviously defining some policies. How do we engage with AI? How do we responsibly develop AI systems? What are you supposed to be able to communicate with AI systems that are okay to use? Then implementing risk assessment processes. So to say, okay, if something happens, or what risks do we have? And if some risks happen, how can we make sure that nothing bad happens from this risk, basically. Then AI literacy and awareness is also part of the EU AI Act, is also to make sure that everyone that uses those AI systems and AI tools is also enabled to use those systems. So they should be trained or have some information on how to engage with this AI system. Can we trust the answers of the AI systems, and so on? And then obviously when it always comes to management systems and so on, and governance documentation, so that everything is properly documented. Everyone can read about what policies are at play, what tools are allowed to use, and so on, and also to have some control. So for those risks that you have assessed, to be sure, okay, how can we make sure that this isn't escalating into a huge incident, basically. And then 6, which is always the last part of all management systems, is monitor, review, and improve. So always make sure to have some monitoring going on, so making sure that the AI tools that are in use, they are still used, actually. So you don't have any deprecated software that is actually not even in use anymore, that they are used properly. And then review, do we have to change maybe our policies if some incidents occur, if some new risks also come up. It's a very dynamic field, so new attack vectors are emerging basically every day and so on. And that would always be the best step after reviewing to make sure that you also improve on that. And since I'm from TÜV, I have to say the last part, but it also makes sense that you do it, is to get certified for AIMS. This just gives you also the assurance that you are actually doing it properly and that nothing can do wrong, basically. So we had a question I just saw, so I will address this now. Oh, we only have one slide left. Maybe I will go over the last slide and then, oh no, maybe let me ask the question first. So Albert asked, if I ask 5 different AI systems the same question and they all reply with the same answer, in this scenario, can the answer be considered gospel truth? Well, it depends if the answer is correct. So the thing, especially when it comes to what you are saying is Gen AI systems, so Gen AI systems, you can imagine how much data they were trained on. If they kind of seem human-like because they kind of talk like a human, or you can communicate to them like a human, but actually the way they actually work is that each word is a probability. So they don't know the full sentence when they communicate with you, but they calculate the probability of what is going to be the next word. So actually they don't know the full context, which is also why they often lean towards hallucinations, because they just look at, okay, what could be the next word after this word, basically. And this is an issue, as well as the issue that it's trained on so much data, and it just reproduces some patterns it learned from the data. And it also is trained on fictional data as well, which is why those hallucinations can always occur. So when you use chatbots, always double check the answer because it can be wrong, and it actually often also is wrong. So always make sure to double check. And if you ask 5 different AI systems the same question and they reply with the same answer, which is actually also common, it could happen if you ask Gemini and ChatGPT the same question, that you get the same answer. If the answer is correct, it's truth. If it's not correct, then they both meant the incorrect data, basically. So I hope that answered the question. And yeah, then let's move on to the last slide before the last poll, which is why should you establish an AI management system? First of all, you want to communicate trust to your customers, your partners, vendors, or also regulators, and also your users. So you want to make sure to show everyone, okay, we are aware that this is a risky and maybe sometimes unreliable technology, so we are taking care of this. You also want to have some easier access to international markets and also tenders. Some people even require at this point to have some AI management system going on to make sure that you are not a liability for them. Then you also want to have assurance. As I said, AI is very unreliable. It comes with a lot of risk, and you also want to have assurance that actually your AI systems, they are used properly within your company, and you are making sure that nothing bad can come out of using AI system. You also can strengthen your reputation as well. So again, it's kind of like a trust signal that you are aware this is something that could be an issue and you are taking care of it. And then also, as I said, there's a lot of regulations going on in the world. It's very dynamic right now. Even the UI Act was recently still changed, even though it was already passed. There was a change a couple of months ago. So we see it's dynamic and it's ever changing. And this will never stop because AI is a very dynamic field in itself. The thing is, you want to be prepared also for new regulations. And the good thing about ISO 42001 is also that it is basically, it's the first management system standard. And so a lot of the emerging regulations and also new standards that are going to have to do something with quality management, they are also built up on this. This is actually a good point to start, to have this established and then build on that. Yes, so that's it for my part. And yeah, now I think we can go into the Q&A session. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask either via chat or unmute yourself, however you feel.